Hello, this is Mr. Smith with the Daily Participation. This goes along with the first unit of economics, particularly the microeconomics section that we'll talk more about in the future. This goes over the benefit of market activity. In the previous lesson, we had gone over the combined effect of supply and demand, where they intersect, of course, is the equilibrium price, which is the best price for both consumers and producers. And proof of that is measurable whenever we have the equilibrium point in these triangular areas. This area is known as the consumer surplus. And the reason why it is called that is because at every price point higher, they would have had to pay more money for the product. But since they're paying at the equilibrium price, they are benefiting from not having to pay these higher prices. The same is true for the producers. They could have, in the marketplace, provided a quantity equal to a price at one of these lower levels, but they would have made less money than at the equilibrium price. So since they are making more, this is considered the producer surplus. And the invisible hand, one of Adam Smith's constructs, basically dictates that this is the most efficient place. And so it will guide consumers and producers to this particular point. This is the best price available. Are there people that aren't going to be able to afford this price? Sure. Are there producers who aren't going to want to produce at this price? Absolutely. But for the majority, the marketplace is going to dictate that this is the best point. And that is made clear by these visible areas of surplus for both the consumer and the producer. So this is the total benefit to society from the marketplace deciding exactly how much and what price should take place for a particular product. This chart on the left is when something is inelastic. In other words, when demand for it is perceived to be a necessity. So cigarettes or gasoline, prescription drugs, any of these things that people would be willing to pay more for. And so you might think, oh, they'll be taken advantage of in a marketplace. But here you can see they're willing to pay higher prices, and the consumer surplus is still a pretty big area, comparatively speaking. So they're not going to lack any benefit from an inelastic product necessarily. This on the right-hand side shows you the value to buyers and the cost to sellers. And the cost, of course, is anything below this. This is all the cost of the producer below the supply curve. And so the cost to sellers, as you can see here on the left-hand side, is less than the value to buyers. So the buyers make out a lot. And then the opposite, the cost to sellers on the other side when it comes to quantity, is going to be higher than the value to buyers. So that's why this point is the best, because then you have it in equilibrium. They'll equal to each other. What kind of things could spoil this? And of course, there are the things that could shift supply and demand back and forth, but the one artificial measure that can do that is through a tax. And that includes tariffs, by the way. We think of taxes as just a sales tax or some type of excise tax on a particular product, where sin taxes are called, like on gasoline or cigarettes, to try to decrease quantity. But tariffs throughout history have been one of the biggest taxes and ruiners of economic efficiency that take place. And they basically stop the worldwide market from reallocating resources and making the best use of the materials that we have and the labor that we have. And it creates a visible inefficiency in the marketplace. So here we can see once again the supply and demand curves, but in this case, a tax. And it doesn't matter who the tax is levied against, if it's levied against the supplier or if it's levied against the consumer. It ends up creating basically what is called deadweight loss. So wherever the price is going to be, it's going to reduce quantity. It's as simple as that. Whenever you put a tax in, some producers are going to say, well, I'm not going to bother making as much, or some consumers are going to say, well, I'm not going to buy as much. And that's particularly true with tariffs because it hits an entire industry, multiple businesses, maybe even multiple products, because often they target building blocks for other materials. And so whenever a tariff or other tax is put into place, it then reduces the quantity that is going to be circulated within the marketplace by other consumers or producers. And so the quantity is drawn back. And this entire area here, as you can see, it's labeled, is known as deadweight loss. And so that's the measurable inefficiency of the marketplace. Now, there's still a consumer and producer surplus, but it is greatly reduced. So the benefit of the marketplace is reduced by taxes, including tariffs. And this is one of the reasons why interference or barriers to trade is an enemy of the free market.